Here we are in Roswell, which many people think of as the beginning of the UFO phenomenon. Well, the UFO phenomenon has been going on for a long, long time, probably centuries.
In fact, when you begin to look back in, medieval history, we find representations of things that look surprisingly like discs and spaceships woven into 12th century tapestries, 14th century frescoes. In Yugoslavia, for example, there's literally something that looks surprisingly like a spaceship with a little man in it that's chasing another little man who's looking back over his shoulder in another spaceship capsule. Looks just like rocket ships. That's just really in our recent historical past. When we begin to go back even further, we discover that some of the legends that have been passed down to us about the Greek gods and the Norse gods, and there have been gods in almost every single civilization, and they're surprisingly similar. That's one of the things that's most interesting about them.
It's God Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, Viracocha, the other old Maya gods, the Inca gods, the gods from the Hopi Indians, the so-called Kachinas, the teachers from heaven, the gods in ancient Egypt. I think these were all the same beings. Maybe the different people around the earth didn't even saw them. It's quite possible, like the example with Christianity, that it happened only at 2 or 3 places. And then the talking started. Oh, it was a great time. They descended from the sky. And now the people start to make their sculpture and their artifacts and so on.
Many of them that are overseeing our planet now have interacted with it historically in some very large and some small ways. They've influenced our religions. They have probably directly inspired many of the mystical or paranormal encounters that holy men like Muhammad and Moses and many of these biblical prophets have had in the past. The Ezekiel chariots of fire.
But in antiquity, thousands of years ago, extraterrestrials visited this planet. Our forefathers then did not understood what was going on. They knew nothing about space technology or technology in our sense. So they believed that these beings are the God. I even take one step further. I'm absolutely convinced that these extraterrestrials created human intelligence by a deliberate mutation.
Different alien civilizations most likely have competing agendas, not unlike the bickering nations on planet Earth. Yet not one of them has blatantly announced themselves to the planet at large with irrefutable proof of their existence. Because of this, debunkers are legitimized, and the government's deniability is maintained to this day, despite what many are beginning to perceive is an ongoing gradual indoctrination process designed to prepare mankind for the inevitable day of official recognition and the sudden shock of first contact.
I cannot decide, to my own satisfaction, whether there is any orchestrated effort or agenda toward lessening that cover-up. But it does seem as if the people of America are being prepared. Again, whether by accident or design, I cannot be sure. But I think that we have come from a time only a decade or two ago when the idea, for example, of alien abduction was so outrageous it was appalling and terrifying, to where a lot of people more or less take it for granted and try to see the silver lining. Oh, that's going to happen. It does. It happens to me. It happens to my wife. Whatever. That's an enormous change. Have the aliens helped to create that? Well, I think they have. They must have. I have to assume, A, aliens are real, B, they are interacting with us, and C, they have some kind of overview of how it is that our interaction will evolve.
I think that I've only seen one particular alien agenda, and that is this abducting people, strong interest in human emotion, in the way we care for our children, the bonding we can do with our own offspring, these very human things, human sexuality, and of course the taking of sperm and ova samples and the parent attempt to create a hybrid mix. I think this is central to whatever the effort is, and I think there might be different races or different types involved, but they're all cooperating in this particular project?
I would say probably 80% of the cases and interviews of people that I have interviewed over at least a decade and a half, the one common denominator was concern about the planet's future environmentally. There were all of these scenarios about something really catastrophic happening globally. A lot of the implications were that the human race actually as a species might not survive. You stand back from it and you say, if you're dealing with an advanced intelligence that appears to be harvesting tissue from animals, appears to be interacting with plants, probably harvesting genetic material from humans, there's an agenda there. And when the abductees themselves say that their impression is that the non-human intelligence has a survival issue, and that there is some symbiotic relationship between whatever this advanced intelligence is and our own planet, and what they are harvesting is genetic material, it raises some major questions. Would the visions or images or projections of some sort of catastrophic event on this planet actually be a way of scaring humans into realizing that if we kept on the environmentally destructive paths we're on, we could end up destroying our own planet, which would destroy us? Because whatever this alien intelligence is, it seems to have a vested interest in keeping life going on this planet.